That was a cheap shot by a young kid on a captain, leading scorer in the league, and we get no call. We get no call. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Every time I was on the ice, I would have 2 or 3 players challenging me to fight. I had just been challenged to fight, 1 second before by Sean Pronger, I think, and so it was just, like I said, it was just another shift of player after player challenging me to fight.
Really bad. And the Vancouver trainer comes on quickly, and they need more than just the trainers. They're calling for medical help for Steve Moore.
Steve, I just want to apologize for what happened out there. That I had no intention on hurting you. And I feel awful for what transpired.
It was a normal Monday night of hockey. The Vancouver Canucks are at home playing against the Colorado Avalanche. Little do the players know, this game would create a play that would change the history of the NHL. Let's rewind to the early 2000s when the NHL was witnessing an intense rivalry between the Vancouver Canucks and the Colorado Avalanche. This wasn't just your rivalry, however. The amount of tension and bad blood against these teams cannot be explained. This bad blood between these teams wasn't born overnight. It was created over several seasons, sparked by high-stakes matchups and trash-talking between players. From hard hits to crazy goals, every game between the Canucks and the Avalanche seemed to carry an extra layer of intensity. But it wasn't until a critical moment that the rivalry reached its boiling point. Enter Marcus Naslund, the heart and soul of the Vancouver Canucks. When Naslund fell victim to a brutal hit that left him sidelined with a concussion, it sent even more hatred through the Canucks roster and fanbase. Naslund wasn't just a star player, he was the center of the Canucks' pride and passion. His absence from the lineup left a spot that couldn't be easily filled. As the Canucks struggled to cope with the loss of their captain, a sense of revenge started to start. So as tension was rising between the Canucks and the Avalanche, Naslund's injury was the reason for what would become one of the darkest plays in NHL history. March 8, 2004, a date that will never be forgotten in the NHL. This marked the tip of the rivalry between the Vancouver Canucks and the Colorado Avalanche. As the two teams faced off in what was already a highly emotional game, both sides were eager to win. In the middle of this tension, Todd Bertuzzi, a powerhouse forward for the Canucks, was a man on a mission to get payback for his captain. With the game starting, Bertuzzi set his sights on Steve Moore, a player for the Avalanche who he deemed responsible for Naslund's injury. What followed, however, was chaos and controversy that would shake the NHL to its core. Bertuzzi, fueled by a mix of anger and adrenaline, delivered a devastating sucker punch to Moore from behind, blindsiding him and sending him crashing to the ice in a split second. The impact was immediate and severe. Moore lay motionless on the ice as players, coaches, and fans looked on in horror. Everyone watching, including commentators and analysts, was shocked by how brutal Bertuzzi's actions were. As the dust settled and Moore was stretchered off the ice, the full effect of the situation began to sink in. It wasn't just a physical blow that Moore had suffered, it was a violation of the unspoken rule of sportsmanship. In the aftermath of this, hatred was upon Bertuzzi from all corners. Players, coaches, and fans alike expressed outrage at the blatant disregard for the safety of a player. The incident served as a reminder of the dangers that lurk in a sport known for its physicality. But in the middle of this, there were also moments of reflection and guilt. Bertuzzi himself expressed deep regret for his actions, acknowledging the pain and suffering he had caused. For Moore, however, the road to recovery would be long and tiring, both physically and emotionally. This also cast a dark shadow over the NHL, destroying its reputation and raising questions about the league's ability to enforce player safety. Critics criticized the NHL for failing to address the issue of on-ice violence, arguing that the incident was an example of how violent hockey culture is. In response to the public, the NHL took action to address the issue. The league handed down one of the harshest penalties in its history, suspending Bertuzzi, and started a full investigation into the incident. This move sent a clear message that this behavior would not be tolerated within the NHL. But the repercussions of the incident were beyond just one player's suspension. It created a broader conversation within the league about the need for stricter rules and regulations to ensure player safety. In the years that followed, the NHL implemented a series of measures aimed at stopping on-ice violence, including harsher penalties for dangerous hits and increased emphasis on player education and awareness. Yet, despite these efforts, the incident served as a reminder of the dangerous risks that come with playing a contact sport like hockey. While the NHL has made progress in improving player safety, violence continues to play a large role in the sport. It's clear that the incident had a huge impact on the NHL and the hockey community. It served as a wake-up call, forcing the league to confront the harsh realities of on-ice violence and take decisive action to ensure the safety and well-being of its players. But more importantly, it sparked a much-needed conversation about the role of violence in sports and the need for greater accountability and responsibility at all levels of the game. Ever since the Todd Bertuzzi and Steve Moore incident, Steve Moore's life took a drastic turn, forever changed by the injuries and the legal battles that came. Moore's promising hockey career came to a sudden stop as he faced a long and tough road to recovery. Physically, Moore endured significant injuries as a result of Bertuzzi's attack, including a broken neck and a concussion. These injuries not only sidelined him from hockey, but also left an impact on his quality of life. Aside from the physical pain, Moore also struggled with the emotional toll of the incident. The trauma of being targeted on the ice and the constant media coverage had a heavy impact on his mental health, leading to a long period of psychological distress. Years after the incident, Moore began on a journey of healing and rehabilitation, seeking help from family, friends, and his faith. Despite the challenges he faced, Moore remained strong, refusing to let the incident define who he really was. On the legal side of things, Moore wanted justice through a civil lawsuit against Bertuzzi and the Vancouver Canucks, looking for compensation for the damages he suffered. After years of legal battles, Moore ultimately reached a settlement with Bertuzzi and the Canucks, bringing an end to the horrific chapter of his life. Years after the incident, there has been a noticeable shift in attitudes towards violence in hockey. The NHL has implemented stricter rules and harsher penalties for dangerous hits, showing the importance of player safety above all else. Players, too, have realized more of the risks with aggressive play. But the most important part of the Bertuzzi-Moore incident is the conversation it sparked about the culture of violence in sports. It forced fans and stakeholders to confront uncomfortable truths about the risks of physical play and the need for greater accountability and responsibility at all levels of the game. As we look more at the aftermath of the Bertuzzi-Moore incident, it's important to acknowledge the personal growth that has occurred since that terrible day. Todd Bertuzzi, who was at the center of controversy, has since expressed deep regret for his actions, recognizing the pain and suffering he caused. After the incident, Bertuzzi went through a period of suspension from the NHL, facing one of the harshest penalties in league history. This period of absence from the game gave Bertuzzi an opportunity for personal growth. This is all for now. Thank you for watching towards the end here. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to let me know and turn on notifications for more videos like this. As always, have a great rest of your day.